Mark Twain, also known as the father of American literature, famous for his novels The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and its sequel Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Before the famous author existed to the world, there was just a person named Samuel Clemens. Samuel Clemens was just a boy born in Florida, Missouri on November 30th, 1835, who became a journalist. People might not know that Mark Twain and Samuel Clemens are one and the same. To be accurate, without Clemens the journalist, there would be no Twain the writer. Clemens lived in Hannibal for most of his childhood, from age 4 to 17. Even at a young age, Clemens knew how to make use of his words. Due to him being sick when he was young, his mother doted on him constantly, making him spoiled. Perhaps that was his basis for his future Tom Sawyer. Clemens began his first step into journalism as a printer's apprentice at the Missouri Courier after his father died. When his brother, Orion, came back to Missouri, Sam began to work as a typesetter and editorial assistant. He also lent his sketches and articles to his brother. Later on, Orion bought the Hannibal Journal, and Clemens started to write more humorous sketches, like The Dandy Frightening the Squatter. But times were tough then, and the money from working for his brother didn't last long. In 1856, Clemens moved to Cincinnati to work as a typesetter. He soon quit that to become a river pilot, his childhood dream. Being a river pilot paid better than a journalist at the time. He loved his job, but it ended with the start of the Civil War. Tragedy hit when his brother, Henry, died as a result of a boiler explosion. In 1859, he published a satire of a senior pilot named Isaiah Sellers. That was when Clemens started using the pen name Mark Twain. The name originated from a riverman's call, meaning to go deeper, or water that was safe for navigation. Twain also became a Confederate volunteer during the Civil War, but the group disbanded within a few weeks. He also gave gold mining a try, but it also didn't work out. He became dirt poor, and sometime later he came back to the only thing he knew, writing. He did go and discover new experiences, but still came back to journalism. He loved it so, and it was worth the experience. But money was an important factor, so he needed a stable job. Twain wrote 3 articles to the Carson City Enterprise, one of which was A Bloody Massacre Near Carson, a fictional story about a man killing his family, which didn't happen, but Carson made the story out to be nonfiction. Other newspapers got mad at that, so they didn't want to reprint any more of the Enterprise on their paper. Even though it didn't end well for Twain, it was a memorable moment in his career. Then he worked for Virginia City Territorial Enterprise. During 1864, Twain published his Jim Smiley and His Jumping Frog, that appeared in the Saturday Press. It was printed in many newspapers and magazines around the country. His first success as a writer was on November 18, 1865, with The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, which was published in a New York weekly. 1 year later, he went on to work for the Sacramento Union as a reporter. He traveled to Sandwich Islands, also known as Hawaii, for that paper. His travelogues during that time were very popular. His first book was The Innocents Abroad in 1869, and it later became a bestseller. But Twain wanted more. He wanted literary acknowledgement, far more than a regular journalist. He needed to rise in society. He accomplished that by marrying Olivia Langdon, who was the daughter of a rich New York coal merchant. Throughout 4 years of marriage, they had 4 children together. Sadly, he outlived 3 of them and had a struggled relationship with the last. With Olivia inspiring him, he successfully wrote Tom Sawyer and then Huckleberry Finn. These works were also inspired by his hometown in Hannibal. After many years passed, Twain had several other successful works and continued contributing to the literary society. The last 15 years of his life, he received many awards, including degrees from Oxford and Yale, and was honored as the most famous American of the 19th century. He could be considered one of the most prominent celebrities in the world. This also included a round-the-world lecture tour from 1895 to 1896. Mark Twain died on April 21, 1910, at age 74. His accomplishments still stay today. His childhood home is open to the public as a museum in Hannibal. In California, Calaveras County still holds the Calaveras County Fair and Jumping Frog Jubilee every 3rd weekend in May. Reporters and journalists look deep into everything to find the truth. That is what Mark Twain was about. He explored the American soul and the truth of society. As we said, Clemens the journalist brought out the writer in Mark Twain. Memorable quotes from Mark Twain include,
20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bow lines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sails, explore, dream, discover. As well as, I do not fear death in view of the fact that I have been dead for billions and billions of years before I was born, and had not suffered the slightest inconvenience from it.